Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear on this Friday morning, wrapping up the first full week of July. It's been a great July 4th week, and we'll talk a lot about it later, but let's take a look at our weather. Brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning, Drew Pollard, and hard-working crew taking care of our everyday comfort needs. High today is only 89, and low is 79, and our water temperature, this was fascinating. I had to double check it. Folks, this is 85.6, so if you ran it off, it would be 87 degrees water temperature. That's one of those really strong currents that's come through there and really shot it up, because it's been around 84. But that's a real big jump right there. Take a look at our river readings brought to us by Panama City Coca-Cola. Good folks over that way. Our Apalachicola Bluntstown at a 7.5 and staying pretty steady. Take a look at the Choctaw Careville. It's 4.8 and got a little bit of a rise to it, but both rivers are going to be in good shape this weekend. Good time to head up the river or down the river and get on one of those sandbars and swim a little bit and fish a little bit and then eat a little bit. So it'll be a lot of fun. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. High tide, strong tide. High is going to be at 1:35 p.m. right in the middle of the day, and low tonight at 11:23 p.m. Take a look at our fishing game times today. They brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers. We're looking at 3:34 to 5:34 this morning, and this afternoon 3:59 to 5:59. Wind will be coming south-southwest at about 10. It's been a pretty good week as far as weather. We got a lot of these thunderstorms just popping up. This is so typical of Florida weather in the summertime. And just we talked about it before, be aware of the lightning and all, but also be aware of that quick wind, how it just boom, comes in really fast. But it's going to be popping up at 70% chance of rain on through the weekend, on into next week. So pretty steady chance of rain, but it's not like a front coming through. It's a summer pattern. Y'all been here long enough, y'all know what I'm talking about. Just be aware of those quick storms. I'll take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. On this Friday, we want to get in some pictures that come in this week from different places and all. But how many different places can you go to in outdoors in the Florida Panhandle? You're going to see all kinds. The first one, I get a kick out of it because Bobby Smith, my bass fishing buddy, he's caught 57,000 bass, but a true fisherman loves to catch fish, period. And here's a picture of Bobby with some big red snapper. His wife posted this. Good job, Bobby. I know you enjoyed it. And like I say, a good fisherman can catch fish, saltwater, and we're blessed here in the Florida Panhandle to be able to do that. The next day he went bass fishing, caught some bass. This is that Deepwater Point. There were several pictures posted on. Let me see, Deepwater Point. These folks, they just ran aground somehow, coming out of Grand Lagoon or going back into Grand Lagoon. Don't know the details, but wow. I saw a lot of pictures. I got this one here just to share with y'all. And we'll talk about, there's some folks out there that flat out don't know what they're doing. I don't care how much money they put in that boat. And here's another. This is here in town. A boat came off the trailer, ran up there, and I forget what street this was on, but this was July 4th week. Here's a better picture of it there. Ooh. Okay. Now, talking about fun, how about going out in the Hobie outback from Sunjammers and go trolling, and look at this. How about catching a sailfish? Okay, look, first of all, the calm water, you can get out there safely, and you got a buddy behind him taking pictures. So they took a couple of great pictures, but how cool is that? Good job, Trent. And nice young sailfish there, got the release. Okay, I got to run there and check with my nephew. I ran up to Bristol. We went to Billy Granson's mother's funeral, and I ran over to Bristol and checking on my nephew, Matthew, and he was showing me, ironically, we were talking about these hornets' nests, and he showed me he's got one growing. This is his house, okay? So he's gonna let it go on through the summer on into the fall, But we were talking about it. The reason my dad and his granddad was so fascinated with them is just how they make them. It's actually beautiful artwork. I mean, they go round and round making these nets. The nest is on the inside, and you know he's got it over the corner by his swimming pool, but they're going to stay away from it. But he just wants to let it grow, and he's going to send me pictures. So we're going to have going to be checking it. This is your young nest, what we call a young nest right here. But throughout the summer and early fall, he's going to send me pictures of it growing. Okay. Kristen Williams, remember Kristen was on the show with her daughter and Caroline, and they just went on a family trip. And is that not a fun trip right there? And then they came back to Shell Island, and she caught her first shark. Remember, she was on the show last month from North Bay Haven Elementary. Good job there. There's a little brother and her dad. This is a typical July 4th fishing trip. Hey, I got this. Hey, Winston. Okay, International Coastal Cleanup Day is September 16th. I know that's a ways out, but go ahead and put it on your calendar, and they're going to be hosting it at St. Andrew Marina, okay, and also Camp Helen, and all kind of different paddle groups and people walking along, and we're going to try to get some folks. Some schools involved in it too. The Coastal Cleanup Day. We've done our outdoor class. Have done that before, and then this is from Christina Cantrell with on the lower left-hand corner. Christina Cantrell, San Andrew Baywatch. But look at the last sentence of her email. Side note: I wanted to share a pic of my son on his first boundary water canoe trip, catching his first fish on fly. So Christina, here it is right there. Is that not a cool memory? Is that not beautiful up there at the boundary waters? And I know that will be a framer there, the first fish on a fly. Thanks for sharing that, Christina. My buddy down at Port St. Joe, Richard Scoop Jackson, he's catching a lot of fish out of the surf, but he caught a tarpon the other day at Cape San Blas. He surf fishes. He said it weighed 125 pounds. I don't think it was that big, Richard. I'm thinking maybe 100 pounds. But fishermen say those things. Our friend Jim Lloyd, his wife Brooke Lloyd, the principal at Patronus Elementary. This is their little daughter. I've had her on the show when she was like 6 or 8 years old showing pictures. And she's getting ready now. She just graduated from Arnold. She's going to the University of Alabama and majoring in engineering. But she still loves fishing. And went out with her dad and her uncle, Jim Lloyd. Good job, Tarver Lloyd. One more real quick picture. Well, we'll take a break because I'm going to come back and talk about David Rich's trip out of Apalachicola this week. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Like I said, we're all wrapping up the July 4th week. Some folks had to work a lot, but a lot of folks had a lot of time off. I got tickled. We spent a lot of time down at the Cape and had a big July 4th cookout. We had about 25 folks that we cooked for. We just had a grand time. It was really, really good and have family and friends there. Got about 15 pounds of shrimp, and we didn't eat all of it, which is unusual. we ate some leftovers, but it's been a good week, and I got tickled. Wendy and Walter live down there now, and Wendy's sort of working a little bit at Florence just to get to know people and all. And there are so many people in Port St. Joe coming from Georgia. I'm going to tell that Port St. Joe story later on when I got a chance. How that town was dying when the paper mill closed down, Arizona Chemical closed down, stores closed down, and then have made a resurgence to what it is today. But that's a story I want to talk about. Maybe interview George Duran to tell that story. But there's so many Georgia people down there. They were kidding around July 4th and saying, "Well, they're going to rename the town Port St. Georgia." We started laughing, and then somebody said, "Hey, they're going to rename St. Georgia Island," because there's so many Georgia folks there, and Mason's getting to work this summer. It's really a good job he's having at the St. Joe Marina, and he's working his butt off, and you know how hot it is, and what they do, those boys around the docks, they put gas in the boats, they help load the boats up, help people move the boats in and out, and it's just, he's learning a lot. It's a lot of hard work. But speaking of Georgia, some of those folks, there's so many good folks coming down from there, and a couple of different times they've invited him to go fishing with them. And and these are nice boats. These are boats his granddaddy don't have. I'm talking about really nice boats. And he went the other day, well, let's see, today's Friday, yesterday he went, and he told me he was going. He had off Thursday, so he told me he was going, and the phone rang a little bit after 1 o'clock. He said, "Granddaddy, I got some fish, let's fry them up." And it don't get any better than that. So he said, "Come on out here." So he cleaned the fish there, and he drove out to the house, and it was just Gail and myself and Mason, and he brought folks a bag of red snapper. Those boys he went fishing with, they're from Bainbridge, Georgia, but they knew had some good numbers, and he had a ball. And I've always kid about eating fresh fish, and I'm always talking about the importance of eating fresh fish. And usually, a lot of mine come from my trip, or from Talking Dog, from the trip I took with Billy Archer. We catch them on Saturday, then we eat them on Sunday. I said, "These fish slept in the Gulf yesterday, were swimming around." Well, he was joking with me, and we got them. He already had them clean, but these fish. Now this was about 4 o'clock. We started 4:30. Started frying them. These fish, he said, "Granddaddy, these fish were swimming in the Gulf around noon today." So that was fresh fish. I just had a grand time, and so many people have enjoyed doing those kind of trips and all. And here's one here. And also got while I'm talking about it, got a call from one of the viewers about we had the show on July 4th about fishing on the Florida Queen, and that was a goalie oldie, and somebody wanted to know about hooking up with them, and the Florida Queen is no longer in existence, and there are not very many head, and they said, well, can you give me a head boat? There are not very many head boats out there. Captain Anderson's had some. The Raffields have one or two down in the St. Andrews, but just hook up with them. And also, there's a great boat going out of Apalachicola. But speaking of Apalachicola fishing, here's David Rich from Weewall, IGA, their boat. Now, they went on a 2-day trip. He called it epic, his words, epic, 48-hour old-school fishing trip. And I know what they're talking about. They went out to Scipio Creek and look at that grouper. They could catch some grouper down there. Look at that mahi. Folks, this is just some local guys going out. This is a 2-day limit. Look at the mahi and the dolphin and the snapper. And there's only 5 guys fishing. Was that not a great trip? All right, good job. And Mason, Scoop sent this to me, but this is a gator that lives down in the down in St. Joe Marina right there, and he comes in and out in St. Joe Marina. They tell people not to feed him, but people do. So he's not dangerous now, but there is a gator right there in the St. Joe Marina. We're talking about tarpon. I've had Greg Gladden on before. I want to, real quick, let me talk about the tarpon. We've always had tarpon here. We've talked about it. I've showed the picture from 100 years ago, catching tarpon up in Lynn Haven. And then what happened, they quit targeting them. Well, then some of these younger captains come into the field that just wanted to go tarpon fishing, and Greg Gladden was one of them. And he really targeted the tarpon. A lot of the captains will go catch them, but then also we're going to catch redfish and all kinds of things, and they're very versatile, our captains are. But some just really target them and really went after them. And I've gotten pictures from Greg all summer. I've showed a lot of pictures from him, but this was a very unique one. People, they were close to shore at the beach, and people all of a sudden they started crowding up. And this particular carpenter, that's Panama City Beach, this crowd, they all got in the water. See, they're holding the kids up, and you see the hotels and condos behind them, and they actually got the picture standing in the water right there with the tarpon. And is that not a classic right there? So good job, Greg Gladden. He runs the inshore tournament. Talking about inshore, July. I'm going to talk about this more, but next week is going to be the Emerald Coast Redfish at Gore Park, July 15th, and it's going to be. We're going to try to cover that. Try to get out there and cover that. The Emerald Coast Redfish Circuit at John Gore Park. And real quick, speaking of over there, okay, parked on the side of the road. This is over here at the Tyndall Bridge on the Parker side. Parked on the side of the road like I've done many of times with no problem. Besides the 6 available trailer spots, everyone else got tickets. So, okay, you see, this is looking toward Tyndall. You see the smoke, that's a control burn, and you see where you are, okay, right here at the park. So he's parked right there, and he got a ticket. Police notice for parking violation. So I guess they're enforcing this. It's at Earl Gilbert Park, $30 fine. So I'm like him. I park there. So I know a lot of folks that will park. Y'all let us know what's going on if they cannot park there or what's going on, and we need to. So be careful. You don't see that very often, get a ticket for parking your truck there. So anyway, be careful there. $30. Okay, now let's go ahead to Tarpon Dock Seafood. Our giveaway every Friday we do this. So it would be a $20 gift certificate or a big red snapper. And call me if you're going to be out of town, so I'll call Clay. All right, the $20 gift certificate from Westville, Nancy Barker. Hope everything's going well up there in Westville. Hope y'all have been able to stay cool. The big red snapper, and there's been a bunch of them out there. There's been more red snapper caught this year than I've seen in a long time. And this one's going to be from Valdosta, Georgia, Aaron McMillan. Speaking of Georgia folks, Westville and Valdosta. So I'll touch base with me and let me know when you're going to be in town, okay? Let's take a break. We'll come back with our famous Friday fishing forecast. Okay, welcome back and welcome to our, the acronym is POOF, the Panhandle Outdoors Famous Friday Fishing Forecast. So that's our acronym. I got tickled with it last night. I was scribbling it out. Let's take a look at what's been going on. Like I said, it's been a great week. You saw the pictures. I didn't finish with the pictures. We're going to try to finish up next week. On Monday's show now, I have Captain Rick Corley on. He hasn't been here in a while, and we're looking forward to having him and talking about a little bit about his dad. It's legendary, some of the things his dad did. His dad was building a boat when he was 87 years old. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things like that. But let's get quickly to the fishing report. Strong week. What I wrote down, the full moon was Tuesday. And if you don't think it don't have an effect on it, the tides are very strong. The tides really got high all over the place. We were down around St. Joe Bay, and I was watching the tides, and I talked to some people over this way, and even Choctawhatchee Bay had some really strong tides. And that full moon had a really strong current out in the Gulf. The big thing on a high tide coming in is excellent fishing because they're coming way on in. But the drawback, and Greg mentioned it, Greg Brudnick, thanks to Greg and Bill for covering the show yesterday, he mentioned this about on the full moon, how they're eating that all night long. So good fishing tip he gave was on a full moon, if you want to fish on another day, fish late in the afternoon before they start feeding in the that night, okay? So also, Stan Crooklyn was on, talking about catching trout and the importance of catching trout with live bait. He loves to do that. So wade fishing is excellent this week. Going early, like you said, go early and or late when the tide's coming in. I had some buddies caught some mullet with a cast net on the incoming tide over there in Crooked Island Sound. Also the redfish bite. You got the report from Bill and Greg yesterday, and they're just at times they're not in the same hole. So again, you got to move around, and you can't explain it. I mean, that's two good fishermen sitting here yesterday and talking about it, and fishing the same way, the same bait. We've all done it, and catch them, then go back another day, and they ain't there. So it's just got. That's why it's called fishing. So that's important too. The snapper bite's been so strong. You've seen it, and I've had a snapper. Friday yesterday, we're going to grill some tonight. So snapper bite's been strong. The wahoo bite has been the best it has been in a long time. And also the sailfish, catching sailfish, and it's been really strong there. And sharks, I wrote down sharks. In fact, the boys yesterday at Mason, there was two other 18-year-old boys, three 18-year-old boys out there fishing, catching all those fish, and Mason hooked up about a 9-foot shark, and the other boys holding the reel. I know he explained to me. Two boys holding the rod, one in the front and one in the back, and Mason sort of, the same thing. Go down, reel, and so they worked, and it broke the line off when it got to the top of the water. But they had a great time. But the sharks have been prevalent all over. So if you're out there swimming at all, don't swim late at night or anything like that, because they are out there. So on freshwater, speaking of night, I wrote freshwater, I wrote the word night. There's a lot of things you can do at nighttime. I wrote down, you can fly fish at night, Deer Point Lake, all the lakes up around the Funiac. Fly fishing at night, especially as the moon starts diminishing. Okay, frog gigging, we talked about this last week. You saw the pictures last week on frog gigging. trot lines and bush hooks. I talk about it every week, but that's a nighttime activity. You can set them out late in the afternoon where it's still cool, and you can check them a time or two during the night and then pull them in that next morning. That's before you're not fighting the heat of the day, and that's just a really good thing to do there. Also, bass fishing at night has always been fun. The biggest bass I ever caught was fishing Lake Jackson with my late friend Blair Morgan, and we were youngsters. We were probably in our early 20s, and we just went out. Let's go bass fishing. And we got off work and headed over to Lake Jackson, and I caught on the top water. It just exploded out of water. It was probably a 25, 26 pounder, but we didn't weigh it. But it was a huge bass, and we let it go. So night fishing for bass is really good. So freshwater, again, I mentioned about the pond fishing, using crickets and worms. We'll go by Weewall Wiggler bait and tackle. Next week we're going to be giving away some more of those tackle boxes or tackle bags from Weewall Wiggler Bait and Tackle. They've got some great natural bait there, the earthworm, the wigglers, also the crickets, and also some live minnows. So they got a great selection there. Come by and check it out, and give them some good business. They've been good to us. Also, I went by Blue Water. I've been by Blue Water Outriggers 3 times this week. Folks, it's wall-to-wall people, and a lot of them are buying shirts and all, but a lot of folks are buying tackle and rod and reels, and even. You don't see very many Zebco 33s anymore, but you're seeing a lot of well-made reels and well-made rods. That's fascinating watching that development over the years. So anyway, I've got to wrap it up. Get outdoors this week, this weekend. Go catch some fish and enjoy it. You go flounder gigging if you get a chance. But I've got to wrap it up. Thank y'all. Had a good week. Good week next week, and y'all have a great weekend. Be careful of these storms popping up. Do something good for your fellow man. Enjoy the outdoors. Let's take care of it, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.